The Formula Mazda series is back. And not only for a limited time, no, since update 5.1, this is now a permanent addition to the featured multiplayer event rotation of Forza Motorsport. Which is awesome in my opinion, because these little cars are so much fun to race with. And they have been since the very beginning of Forza Motorsport, with this being one of the very first Spec Series events of the game's release. And looking back at those videos, I actually noticed that I haven't done or shared a tune for these cars yet, at least not for the spec variant, so the one with 701 PI. I want to rectify that today, so you have something to race with, or at least a tune to start with and do your own tuning with. I'm going to share that at the end. But first, let's take a look at this race start at Mid-Ohio, which went great until that happened. Car getting spun in front, really unfortunate being that there was a car to the left of me and to the right of me on the grass already, and I had nowhere to go. And then someone rammed in the back of me and I got spun. It was really unfortunate because I couldn't really do much there. In hindsight, I think I could have pressed the menu button to have my car ghost through the spun car and then continue the race like that, but in the moment I didn't think of that, and I also don't really like that as a feature, as something you can do to avoid crashes. I don't know, let me know what you think about that. So yeah, I just got spun and am now at the very back of the field. But that's not a bad thing, because there is still good racing to be had. And as I said, these cars are so much fun to drive. And I did take a little bit of time to get the tune to where I feel like it's both safe enough but still quite fast. And I feel like I managed to do kind of well here. And I really had a lot of fun in these races, even though it's still Forza Motorsport, and coming from racing ACC and the more Ultimate recently more, where the races were at least somewhat cleaner. Forza Motorsport has a lot of ramming and dirty driving going on, sadly, in multiplayer, which is gonna still be the case here, but we are not gonna let that ruin our fun with these cars. And well, we are now at P20, and there is already a free position here. Luckily that car still was ghosted. By the way, that could also have been a thing, which is if a car gets spun and is on the track sitting there, I don't know why the automatic ghosting system doesn't initiate that earlier, that the car then gets ghosted. I don't really understand when cars get ghosted. It sometimes randomly happens. Look at this car in front, he's ghosted, and I don't think now anymore. That's it, I don't really know. The system there, I think, could use some improvement, so that if there is really a big spin, a big crash, that it's a little bit easier for the cars behind to not also get involved in that. Because crashes do happen, especially on Forza Motorsport. You can see here, cars in front definitely fighting quite heavily, and I managed to get on the inside of one and actually overtake him here. There is even more carnage going on in front. Take a look at the pack of 4 cars in front of this one, and yep, there's again 2 cars that, well, they did get into a little bit of a scuffle and decided to both spin out in the same direction. Luckily this time I managed to still get through that, even though I did ram one of them at least a little bit, but I'm still going. This was a little bit unfortunate, but we were side by side there, and I feel like he did turn in a little bit too much and a little bit too early and did not leave me enough space, and subsequently then got pushed out. And I felt a little bit bad for that, but then again I felt like he initiated that with his turning in and being quite aggressive. By the way, being quite aggressive, I was trying to go on the inside of this guy here, but I noticed that I would run quite wide, so I decided to hit the brake a little bit and slow down, and that caused me to spin a little bit while mid-corner. I feel like that's something that Forza Motorsport doesn't really do all that well yet, which is mid-corner correcting, especially on brake. I feel like even touching the brake a little bit can cause you to spin, or at least have your rear tires slide very easily, while on other games you can use the brake quite a lot to, well, correct mid-corner if you feel like you're a little bit too fast. But that's maybe just my perception, and maybe you have a little bit of a different idea about that. But I felt that I had a little bit of a tougher time to correct, well, going a little bit too fast into a corner with braking on Forza Motorsport. But, well, that's that. We are quickly going up through the field, actually, and I was kind of surprised how well I was able to do, even though I definitely made mistakes. You can see that from my driving. This was my first race back after basically driving no Forza Motorsport for at least a week or something. Really had other things to do, and if I had time to do racing, I did that on other games. So it was a little bit of a struggle getting back in that. By the way, we saw another car spin there, which luckily got ghosted. Sometimes that system works and sometimes it just doesn't. As I said, I don't really know how that exactly works. Could use some improvement in my opinion. The silver Mazda, well, he made a little bit of a mistake and I was able to actually get him on the first straight after the start-finish line, and I'm now in front. But I actually had quite some trouble to shake him. You're gonna see that a little bit if you watch the rearview mirrors. He is definitely trying to attack, and I need to be quite careful to both defend and also be careful that he doesn't ram into the back of me and pushes me off track. But I felt like he was quite patient and quite safe in his driving. That's always nice to see, not something that is particularly common in Forza Motorsport. I feel like the racing in general feels a little bit more chaotic and a little bit more, well, where people feel like push to pass means something very different here, if you get what I mean. But yeah, the guy behind definitely was doing that quite nicely, quite fair. Was fun racing a couple of laps with him here. He's falling back a little bit now, but he is gonna catch back up. We are now jumping ahead a little bit in this race because, well, I was catching up quite a bit to the guys in front and actually managed to get to P8. But that was also because some people already pitted, because that was something that was necessary for the people who did medium tires like I did. And for that pit stop I came out in P16, which were now P17 actually. Even one more guy coming. So did fall back quite a bit, but there are still quite a lot of people who haven't pitted at all yet. Might be because some of them are running hard tires. I debated doing that as well, as I get into a big slide here and get pushed from the guy behind, but managed to keep it on the road this time. But yeah, strategy-wise, I was thinking about going hard tires and trying to go for a no-stopper, but I didn't really know if it was possible on this track, so I decided against it. But it felt like some people were doing that, or at least trying to do that. And well, then I make this stupid mistake and almost make a really stupid rejoin. That was so close of ramming that guy who's now in front of me. Yeah, that definitely happens because I was just trying to push too much, and that's something that you always need to take care of. Even if you feel like you need to go fast and you need to go forward, sometimes it's just a little bit better to take it a little bit easier and not do stupid mistakes like that. Something that I always need to keep reminding myself. And I managed to do a couple more mistakes, sadly, in the rest of this race, and was thinking about, well, I was kind of fearing that the position in the end wouldn't be that great. In the end, it was enough for P13. I would have loved to do a little bit better, but in the end, that is where I finished. I think even with penalties of other people applied, we finished P12, which is okay for the start that we had, starting basically in P22 in the end. But yeah, overall was decent enough, but definitely could have done a little bit better. And then I went to the next race at Hockenheim, and there the conditions were quite different. As you can clearly see, it's raining quite heavily, and that is something that I don't get all that often in Forza Motorsport, and it always throws me a little bit, especially this heavy rain which you're seeing right now. But with wet tires applied, it's actually okay in these cars, I have to say. And The start in this one did go okay, started in P5, did fall back one position, but maybe luckily because the guy that started behind me now pushed one other guy out of the way. And then I get pushed from behind, and I didn't really see where he was coming from. I wasn't all that slow, and I don't know if it's really necessary to, well, just push your way past. As I said, push to pass sometimes is a little bit different in Forza Motorsport. And I was a little bit frustrated here, falling back to P9, because I really felt I had a good chance of a podium in this one, especially with people struggling in the rain. You can see a couple of people here struggling and spinning or going off track. But this car actually feels quite nice, even in this heavy rain. I don't know how the driver deals with this, since there's no canopy, but I guess it's totally fine with a helmet. I don't know. But yeah, I think the car in general with wet tires can handle these conditions quite nicely. It doesn't feel all that difficult in this one. And, well, we still have maybe a chance here. Managed to get back to P7 already because of mistakes in front. And we are still, well, at the back of these guys in front and still managing to keep up. And, well, since this is only a 3-lapper, I'm not quite sure what the rotation on this series is about, because sometimes it's longer races with pit stop and sometimes it's shorter ones like this. Or maybe this is a bug that this race was so short, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, we don't have much time to catch those positions back up that we lost. Managed to get one here. Mistake from the guy in front meant that I was able to get him on the inside and overtake him there. Now I'm really taking a look at the mirrors and try to see that he doesn't punt me into, well, or off the track. Definitely something that I'm very much aware of. And you can see him in the mirror, and I was like, he's definitely very close, and still is. And we are still keeping up with the guys in front, and I make a mistake here, braking a little bit too late for that left-hander. And the guy behind me is trying to get by, but he still is a little bit away, but then he does that. I'm always not quite sure, like, do these people not have any patience? Do they not see what's going on? Because I was basically a little bit off the ideal racing line, I would say, but wasn't super slow, and he could have just lifted a tiny bit and that would have been totally fine. He maybe could have even gotten me on the exit because I had a little bit of a compromised line. Like that, he both ruined his line there even more and did get slowed down. It was lucky that he didn't get spun himself as well, and he definitely ruined my race once again. And yeah, as I said, it's something that is a little bit frustrating on Forza Motorsport still. The online racing isn't all that clean, and while the racing in these cars is definitely very fun, racing with other people when stuff like that this happens all the time, I don't know. Which is why, as I said in the beginning, I have been driving on other sims or other games for the past week, because I just had more fun there. And Forza Motorsport multiplayer is a little bit hit and miss, and a lot of miss for me at least in the last couple of times that I tried. Maybe I'm just unlucky, maybe I'm just well, in the wrong positions at the wrong time, not quite sure, but yeah, I really want to hear from you if you still do Forza Motorsport multiplayer. What's your experience like? How often do you have these situations where basically your race gets ruined, or at least you don't finish in a position where you should have finished because of someone ramming you or spinning you out? Yeah, definitely want to know what's your experience there, because I feel like I have that more often than not lately. And yeah, it leads to me not wanting to race multiplayer in Forza Motorsport all that much. I still do it from time to time because there is a lot of variety on it, which is the main reason for me to play Forza Motorsport. Driving these cars is something you well, you can do in other sims probably, but yeah, overall, I definitely like Forza Motorsport for the variety aspect and all the different things that you can do. And that's something you can expect from me in the future as well. And also when there's new stuff coming out, I'm also obviously gonna show you that. So yeah, we can take a look at that. By the way, taking a look, here is the tune for the Formula Mazda as promised in the beginning. And as I said, it did take a little bit of time to get this as close to optimal, at least for my driving style, as possible. As always, this is a starting point for you. If you feel like the car is maybe a little bit too safe, too understeery, you can change a couple of values to make it less understeery and maybe more oversteery, or vice versa. Definitely take this as a starting point and adjust from there. This is why I'm showing you this. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for watching. If you unsubscribed to the channel yet, feel free to do so. That always helps me out. And with that, I hope you enjoyed. I've been HD Racing. See you in the next one.